These are very physical roles. Was that something that attracted you to the project for both of you?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
When you have an opportunity to work on with your my body, my instrument, my voice, my body and my voice, and demanding equal attention, it's the feast of what being an actor for me is about.
I dreamt that it would be what it became, but it was way greater. Where my dream was always to be able to fully immerse myself and create very, very different humans. And in this case, I got to create this bonobo, and the idea of trying to figure out how to filter my humanity through this different anatomy, this different physiology, this different psychology, was such a great challenge. And you got to admit, it felt really, really good to get into our characters. And when we were all interacting as apes, it felt incredibly natural and really quite wonderful, to the point where, they gave us an ape school before we started shooting. We really could have used a human school so that we can integrate back into society. Yeah.
Can you each tell us about Ape School?
Oh, I can tell you about Ape School, all right. So we started by, we walk into the basement of a soundstage on the Disney lot in Sydney, Australia. And there on the walls, there are pictures of the skeletal structures of various apes. So immediately I'm noticing the differences between my and a human skeleton as well. So we're starting to already just visually pick apart the differences and pick at the differences. So then we, I remember the first day you take your shoes off, and like here's this group of people that I'm eventually going to fall in love with, and with Elaine Gauthier, our movement coach, and he's an incredible performer, and as well as he's a biologist, I believe, a scientist, and so we start unpacking the anatomy of apes, unpacking the fact that the rib cage and the hip bones are a lot closer together on apes than humans. So human beings have this axis in which they turn on, apes do not. So you're learning how to shift your weight. Just like this is the fundamental basics of and then you're learning how to walk. And you're given this information by Elaine, and just asking you to walk around the room and just layering in more and more information, and taking on like your center of gravity changing and being lower. Your legs are shorter. You have thumbs almost on your feet. So you, over the process of 6 weeks, by the time we're ready to shoot, we've gone through examining not only the physicality of the ape that you're playing, but like the psychology, the physioanatomy, like the understanding the difference between the human vocal muscular structure and vocal cords and larynx and things like that, different than an ape's. We've delved into breaking the language up of the script in terms of making it more
Individual.
And
from that point, can I continue? From that point on, after we go through the ape school, and find the movement of the ape, and it becomes part of our body, we start to filter in our own unique characters, our own unique idiosyncratic behavior, our intentions, the obstacles that we have, how we could achieve our goals, our individual goals. And it's interesting because Alain Gauthier, our movement director, would place us in situations where, now that we have all of this information, he would place us in situations where we were able to improvise with each other. So for me, it started off with Owen, and I had been doing a lot of thinking about humanity and the history of Homo sapiens, and I wanted to teach this young ape fiercely about why we can't let humans gain power again. And I saw the shift in his eyes where he understood that that where I was coming from was a place that he wanted to know more about. And then I was placed in situations where I was with Travis and Lydia, and there was this fierce kind of sense of hierarchy that arose out of those situations. So we all got to know each other as apes first, and Ape School really did continue throughout the entire shoot, really, and continues to this day, where we still all greet each other as apes, rather than saying, "Hi, how are you?" We go, "Oh, oh, 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 oh. It's nice to see you, although I disagree with your philosophies."
Well,
Yes, but
there is room for improvement. There's room for growth, my friend.
yes,
Just
okay.
calm yourself. Breathe in through
Yes.
your nose and out through
Yes.
your mouth. Take your time.
Yes.
Take in the world as you see it.
He does not mean to sound so condescending.
Oh, condescending. That's not a word that's in my vocabulary. Yeah, so it's here, and it's to the where we can just jump in and
Live and breathe as apes.
Yeah, and communicate with each other through being an ape, and that's a pretty neat thing, and it doesn't go away. I don't think ever. I don't know if I'm ever gonna stop once I've learned this is in my body, it's in my cells.
Thank you. Apes till we die.
Apes till we die.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the look and scope of the film?
Oh my God.
Mm.
I could start off just with first we started off auditioning, and then we both individually had these meetings with Wes, and Wes really knew exactly what movie he was making, and took us through this journey with all of these images, even down to the detail of there were sketches of Proximus already that I could look at and go, "Oh my God,
spooky!
There he is!"
Yeah.
So the amount of detail and time that was put in before we even had an opportunity to even come into consciousness about the project was so overwhelming. It was flabbergasting to think how much time was already put in. And then once we did our jobs, which took approximately 6 months, there was still another year of work, world building and painting every intricate detail about every single finite movement of our faces and the intention. Everything came through so clearly, and I could keep going, so you go ahead.
Well, what's great about this particular film, this installment of the franchise, this new chapter, is the presence of nature, and what 300 years from now or about would look like if human beings are no longer the apex predator, like no longer on the top of the food chain. And it's such a lush, green, beautiful, and decayed. So it's like decay and new growth happening over that decay. So
the decay of the human imprint,
right?
The world,
the skyscrapers,
reborn.
the building. It's really, truly Mother Nature reclaiming itself.
Yeah.
And it's a character in this in this
Oh
film.
God,
This film, there's a lot of daylight
yeah.
sequences. There's a lot of lush, like, and that's, from being able to shoot in Australia and some of the most beautiful places in the world. But there's a lot of daylight sequences in this film. This, like, the last, war was pretty dark. The lack of the human element in this film, and so I think that allows us to really, really, take a closer look at the complicated relationships between apes. I feel like this is really in the Apes movie.
You know what
Go
I
ahead.
also really enjoyed was to see the Earth so incredibly healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
that human imprint had been was being removed,
Yeah.
rebirthed. So it almost has a feeling of like, what we would imagine Eden would have been like.
Well, when we're
Yeah,
out there in those
yeah,
locations, in the bush, in like the rainforest of untouched rainforest in Australia, the air was so fresh
hmm
and clean and crisp, and at times very hot.
hmm
But and the water, like, of that river, was so clean, and it felt a lot like, oh wow, this is what it must feel like to be. There are places, very few places, but like that are untouched and unsullied
mm.
by human beings' footprint, and it really gave that feeling of living in that world, where the earth, where nature and the earth is really, really, really present,
You
and
know,
that felt
it was really
pretty
trippy
special.
for me was watching the movie. It felt a lot like the place where I grew up.
Mm.
I'm from a place that's 21 hours north of Toronto, and it's endless forests and lakes and rivers and creeks and mountains, and yeah, they say that the human brain uh, functions so much better when it's in nature, and when you watch this movie, you almost feel at ease until the narrative starts to take hold, and then there's so much tension and so many rival um, kind of philosophies going on, and a lot of very high stakes, but it's all done in this amidst this beautiful these beautiful vistas that you could literally pause every frame of the film and take a picture and want to put that picture on your wall because
Yeah,
it's so
it's
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
yeah, yeah.
Lastly, what can audiences expect to see on the big screen?
I think audiences can expect to see a film that is so incredibly well thought out and executed on every front. Um, it's a real smorgasbord, right?
Yeah, I like what's come up is like what the world building. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like where you're placed and where you're brought into, almost, you know, off, like the first 2 minutes, like after the opening sequence, then we're into this new world,
Mm,
and again with Wes's brilliant vision. He truly is a visionary director. Like, I mean, the
mm,
the story that we talked about for an hour and a half via Zoom, with the storyboards, and him telling me the explaining to me the various arcs and of the characters, and the arc of the film, was pretty much the film that we shot. And I think when you do go and see this movie on as large a screen as you possibly can, what you can expect to see, or what you would expect to happen, is to be submerged into this world that is strange and it's foreign and it's slightly familiar. Um, and I think it puts apes in their natural habitat, in as much as they would be, without human beings interfering
mm.
or dictating, how the world is supposed to be. So you really, the way that, the climbing sequences, the way that they move through the world, like the innocence, It really is a three-dimensionalized experience, and I think it may change the way that we view, the next time you go to a sanctuary or you go to a zoo. I think it certainly put something on my mind in terms of how I viewed apes in captivity.
No doubt.
Um,
And there, really truly acts as a mirror
mm,
to humanity.
mhm.
And there's just one last thing I wanted to add for you audience members or potential audience members. This film can be digested in many different ways. So if you are feeling like you just want pure escapism and just disappear into these beautiful vistas following this gorgeous story of really it's the journey of a hero, and it's the hero's journey. You can just go and do that, and if you choose to look between the lines and engage in all of the potential different themes, the different things that are happening in this world right now, you can do that, and you could go as deep as you like, and because it's such a rich world to be a part of. So I just encourage you to sit down and just enjoy it in all its splendor.
Yes, sir.
That's a wrap.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.